The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when they signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up and fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
All right, welcome to Armed Alabama. It's Tuesday, of course, your favorite day of the week because we come on from 6 to 8 p.m. So glad you could join us. Appreciate you hanging here to catch us at 6 p.m. We got a big show for you tonight. We have join us later on in the evening at 6:30. Senator Luther Strange will be calling in. We'll talk about different things, including, of course, the different bills that are in the House and Senate regarding suppressor, or of course, it's the Hearing Protection Act, as well as
What'd
the
you
federal,
say?
Yeah, as well as the federal reciprocity. So, looking forward to for him calling in. We had a good week this past week. We got a chance to go to the NRA, Friends of the NRA dinner that was held this past week, Thursday night at the Battleship. It was a really good event, and got a chance to eat some really good food and also raise some money for some really good causes. The NRA, Friends of the NRA, raises money for local ranges, local youth groups, youth associations locally and nationally, which is really important to get the youth of our area and the youth of America more involved in shooting sports and, of course, the Second Amendment, so they can learn what the Second Amendment is for and continue America's favorite pastime. Also, speaking of the NRA, a few weeks ago we went to the NRA National Convention that was held in Atlanta at the World Congress Center. 15 acres, nothing but guns under one roof. It was a really cool event. We've seen lots of great products. We did quite a few videos of that event when we met with the different products and manufacturing companies, gun companies, different things that we liked. So be sure to check us out on our Facebook page, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5, and you can check out the different videos we have there. And one of those people that we interviewed and talked to was NRA Youth Ambassador Taylor Holland. So kind of going back to what I was saying about the Friends of the NRA event, those are kind of things that they're raising money for, is for the youth. And Taylor Holland had a really good interview, really good discussion regarding that, and to get youth and young people more involved with the NRA, more involved with the shooting sports, and, of course, more involved with our Second Amendment activities. All right. Also, we want to thank our advertisers. Without them, we wouldn't be on the air, and that's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Dr. Justin Foster at Foster's Chiropractic, David Grayson at Grayson Air Conditioning, McCoy Outdoors, of course, Ace Hardware Stores, Spring Hill, Moffett, and Creola location. And, Judge, are we ready to announce our newest advertiser.
I think we'll wait until next week.
All right, one more week. So we got a new advertiser maybe coming aboard. So we'll wait one more
they're
week on
definitely
that.
aboard, but
All right, and we'll wait to announce that next week. Looking forward to be able to announce any of our new advertisers. Of course, we got a few of them here lately. And, of course, the law office of Matt Green. If you would like to advertise your business on Armed Alabama, or if you want to contribute to us, you can contact the radio station, or you can contact us directly. You can email me, adam@armedalabama.com, or the judge at armedalabama.com, and we'll be glad to meet with you and talk about what we can do for your business, because we have a huge listenership and a loyal following. So, and we're proud for that. Judge, of course, everybody's been listening to the news. We had a terrorist attack, which is just absolutely appalling.
well, I heard they said they found that. I said, the exact wording was they found him, and I said, well, I hope it was in 47 pieces. So I assumed since he was a suicide bomber, that was the case.
Yeah, the thing was, he was at a concert, so there was lots of people who was there. The UK today has announced it's going to raise their terror threat level to critical, which is signaling another attack may be imminent. So, prayers go out to them. But, Judge, you and I discussed several times about Britain's new Prime Minister, May. I don't think she's going to stand idly by for this, and I'm sure that Trump will be willing to assist.
The problem is, it's like closing the barn door kind of after.
They're already there.
Yeah, they have the terrorists are already amongst them.
And that is why immigration is so important.
Well, it's like I heard Katie Hopkins, who's a reporter over there, and she's kind of thinks on our side. She said, why do Muslims always immigrate to Christian countries? And it's a mighty good question. And it's one thing to immigrate and adopt the culture and mores and heritage, but they're not. They're staying in enclaves that represent where they've come from, and they bring with them their old feuds, animosities. In London, you have the Somalis fighting the Eritreans, and you have all the old clans fighting each other, practically in a civil war. So they're going to turn your country into what they just left, which is pretty darn dangerous.
Right. So if you're just now tuning into Armed Alabama, which we heard several people have told us that they started listening recently, this is a show about self-defense, firearm ammo selection, concealed carry, home protection, training, proper range etiquette, and of course, Alabama law, Mississippi law, and Florida law, and the federal law. So myself, I am a certified NRA law enforcement instructor, and I have about 8 or 9 or 10 other different certifications that go along with that. And, Judge, you want to tell everybody real quick?
Yeah, I'm an NRA certified pistol and revolver instructor, as well as personal protection in the home, and that involves how to harden your home, and maybe we'll talk about that a little later, against criminal intrusion and how to be safer in your home. I was director of the 13th Judicial Circuit Court Police for almost 10 years, which is like a stretch in the penitentiary, but had a good time doing that. But you learn a lot when you're doing that. And, Adam, if I could get a little police news in while I was mentioning it.
Absolutely.
Last September, you all may remember Tulsa, Oklahoma. There was a car left in the middle of the highway running. A female police officer came along, and a number of people had called in and said, the quote was, "A crazy man is around this car. He's jumped out and said, there's a bomb in it." Well, she doesn't hear any of that. She gets out, and then all of a sudden this man is there. Well, he won't do anything she says. She's joined by another officer who has a taser. They keep telling him to do things, get on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. He made a movement. She shoots at the exact same time the officer with the taser shoots, which kind of indicates to you they both thought there was a problem. She was charged within a week by the DA, who was literally weeping when he charged her with manslaughter. Jury found her not guilty of manslaughter last week. The victim, the dead man, was called a good family man, all the stuff that goes. He'd served time in the penitentiary. It was didn't mean he deserved to get killed, but the people saw through what was obviously a political decision. That was the Terrence Cruncher case. She was Officer Betty Shelby.
Yeah,
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's terrible either way. Either way.
Oh, yeah, it's a tragedy, but to haul off in a week and charge somebody.
Yep, absolutely.
Got a break. We better run off too, and we'll be right back, folks. And we're back also at Armed Alabama.
All right, welcome back. Judge, just before we went to the break, you were talking about some police news or whatever, so I have a little bit as well. Locally, there's going to be a new City of Mobile police precinct in Tillman's Corner. So really glad about that.
I hope they man it, because there was a lady who was probably 75 who had her purse snatched when they went to the festival center. And, of course, my wife attends to her while I chase the purse snatchers, which was pretty stupid. I was a little bit younger, about 20 years ago. And nobody was in the police precinct because somebody else ran over there and was locked up.
Hey, Adam, that's going to be in Cloverleaf Plaza Shopping Center?
Right. It's in the old AutoZone.
Yeah, do we have any idea when that's going to open?
I tried to find the date, and I guess I overlooked it.
Okay, the AutoZone is right almost next door to the post office.
Yeah, or the old AutoZone building.
Hate to lose an AutoZone. You can't have too many of them.
Moved.
They took over the old Food World building, so
Yeah.
it's a huge AutoZone.
Yeah, so I was actually eyeballing that old Food World as a good place for an indoor range, but
Hey,
I couldn't ever get anybody to call me back. So
Was there good weather here?
I guess I found out why, because AutoZone was going to be there. So,
my gosh,
well, it was still a good idea.
yeah, but it is a good idea for the police station to be there. The new precinct.
We need to remind everybody that we are on Facebook Live, and you need to, if you're on Facebook or care anything about Facebook, to go to the Armed Alabama Armed Alabama Radio FM Talk 106.5 page. If you already have liked it, you should have gotten a notice. But if you hadn't liked it, you can still just put that in the search box, and you will see us and hear us there. I guess you couldn't do it in Red China because they
probably block it.
They block it. Yeah, they do that.
I'm sure because Facebook is trying to block us anyway, or YouTube. Man, it just seems like every time I look at my email, YouTube has blocked us, or taken down a video, or blocked content,
or they've announced a new restriction against, and it's the gun thing.
Well, what it is they will not allow us to monetize video. That's the newest thing.
They've said things about monetized video that we've never even tried to monetize.
Yeah, don't they show live suicides and all kind of?
Well, this is we're talking about YouTube. Facebook, but YouTube in particular.
Who is killing is the Hickok and all of those people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are teetering on the edge because ours was just a satellite. And I think my original decision was probably best. Don't monetize it so they can't control you. But those people that were really depending on that, really just to pay their expenses, are just being killed by all of that. Now, our call-in numbers are 251-343-0106. If you're just outside or on the border of the listening area and aren't getting the channel well, you can listen to us online, either at the station's website, which is FM Talk 106.5, or at the armedalabama.com website. They're the same feed. You're a second or two delayed, but it doesn't matter. The number I gave you earlier, 251-343-0106, also will take a text. So if you have a question, sometimes you can't get a call through where you are on your cell phone, but you can get a text through because it takes a lot less bandwidth. Constitutional carry, they didn't call it that, but that's what in effect was defeated in the Alabama House, where they ran out the clock, and basically what happened. I know there were a lot of people for that. My position kind of was, as long as they kept issuing permits, that was fine, because I wanted them to keep issuing permits so we could travel around the country. But the House is what killed that, which they've done similar things in the past, like with the requirement about the driving in a car, extending the protections of your house to your car. So you didn't
and
have
that is a good.
The
that
house
was
is what
probably
got
the
it.
only thing within that bill that I liked.
Yep. And they
So
killed
the
that.
permit, the permit program is going to continue then.
Just like it is, at least until they meet again. Sure wish we were one of the states that met every 2 years. Then we'd only be in danger. Texas still does that every 2 years. That's the way it was until.
I wish Congress met every 2 years.
Oh yeah, or maybe every decade. Might be better. So, but between the two of us, we've got a lot of knowledge, and we don't tell you things. If we don't know it, we'll find out the answer.
Which is good because it keeps.
We
me
don't
on my
make it up
toes.
like a lot
Yeah.
of people. 'Cause I don't
Yeah,
want
it
that
keeps
on me.
Keeps me on my toes. Before we were interrupted with the weather break, I was talking about the new police precinct in Tillman's Corner. The mayor was there to discuss the opening. They had kind of it wasn't really a grand opening. It was just an announcement that they had made Friday at 2:00, which was good. The mayor was there. Some of the city council members were there. And the mayor really outlined what that precinct is going to mean to that area, which is really, really good. And considering the number of people that showed up to that event, a lot of people was understanding what this can mean to the area. So pretty excited about that. The mayor talked about how it's going to minimize interruption at shift changes and lost patrol time because of the officers are commuting back and forth during shift change. It also is going to be better for the officers who live within the Tillman's Corner area.
Yeah, if they can try to assign them out there. that'd be great.
Absolutely. Can you imagine not having to commute that much? You could be right there, beside, with your family or where your children go to school at. It's hard to put a price tag on that kind of quality of life improvement.
What it'll do is two things. It'll reduce response time greatly.
Yes.
And secondly, it'll increase visibility. And I personally feel that if you have a patrol car that every so often rides through your neighborhood, that is some deterrent to crime.
Well, it used to be. Now I think they're bullet magnets. So, you're
Well,
right normally. I don't know anymore.
Every time I go through Tillman's Corner, it's just there's vagabonds here and there.
They really are.
And I think this will give the visibility that Tillman's Corner needs, especially for investment to open new businesses and stuff.
Is there a closed down Walmart out there? Because that's their headquarters.
Yeah, Kmart.
The Tramps. Yeah, Kmart.
Kmart.
That's where they hang out.
You're talking about the Sears Essential building over there?
Yeah. I said Kmart, but it's
Well, they bought
them
Well,
out.
kind of like one of those end of the world movies. That's where they are. I understand. What's the one with Will Smith? The latest.
They
one,
hang
Chase?
out.
I Am Legend?
The what?
I Am Legend?
Yeah, I'm Legend. They're in there, and somebody ought to go clean them out. I mean,
The Mega Man remake?
yeah, the Mega Man remake, right. So they're in there.
So anyway, we're really excited about that, and the as well as the citizens in that area are really excited about it.
Well, I bet they are, because when seconds count, the police are minutes away, and every minute you can get them closer. Believe me, when you're there counting, like listening to a 911 call, boy, those minutes sound like hours.
Yeah.
They feel that way.
All right, if you got a comment or question, give us a call, 251-343-0106, and be sure and check us out on Facebook Live at our Facebook page, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. And with that said, we have a caller online. Johnny's calling in from Sims. Hey, Johnny.
Hi, good afternoon, gentlemen, or good evening.
Hey, Johnny.
You mentioned this bill in Montgomery that was defeated. And, everything I heard about the bill, just about, I didn't like. And if they're going to raise this issue again next year, and if I understood your gentleman's conversation, neither one of you were in favor of it either.
I was ambivalent. I wasn't for it, but, it wasn't worth it enough to me to even call anybody and say don't vote for it. So, I was going to keep a permit from that standpoint because I didn't see that it was a plus. But
right. Well, what I understood in the bill was that they were going to quit issuing permits and just allow open carry.
No, they were going to keep issuing permits.
So concealed carry was still available.
Yeah.
But they're just going to let everybody who is without a severe record open carry a weapon.
You could do that now.
You could conceal carry it.
Yeah.
So you can open carry it now, but you still had to meet the same qualifications, but you could conceal carry it without a permit. But, as we talked about, if you wanted to drive to Mississippi or Georgia or wherever, you didn't have that option because you didn't have a permit to be reciprocal with those states. But, if you just stayed, in your own town and you didn't have a lot of extra money and whatever, but all the advantages of a permit, of course, like us.
Right.
So it makes a lot of sense to have a permit.
Right, and you're exactly right. You start driving up to the Midwest and places, your permit's still good.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Sure is.
All right. Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate your phone call.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right. We're going to have to go into a break. Hang with us. We'll be back.
Yeah,
with
Rick,
more
hang on.
Armed Alabama.
CBS News.
All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. Glad you can hang with us through the break. We still got plenty of show for you left. And joining us on the phone is Senator Luther Strange.
How are you guys doing?
All right.
Fine.
How you doing there, cousin Senator?
I'm doing great, Adam. Judge, how you guys doing tonight?
Fine. Are you in D.C. or are you back in Alabama?
Well, I'm in D.C. for a day or two, and then I'll be back home on Thursday, I think. That's my plan anyway.
Well, take a good shower when you get back.
I'm in the land of unreality up here. I'll tell you that. There's a disconnect between what people care about and what they're talking about. I'll tell you that for sure.
That's the truth.
I bet that's quite a new experience, huh?
Well,
of course, you spent a lot of time up there when we were both working in our old jobs in the gas business.
That's right.
A little different role then, but.
Well, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it, and we've been trying to get you on for a couple of weeks, so glad your schedule worked out for tonight.
Well, I am too. I really love your show, and I'm really glad you guys are promoting gun safety and self-defense and the Second Amendment. I just can't thank you enough for what you guys are doing. There's a huge need for it, I'll tell you that.
It really is, and with that said, I mean, we've had a huge response since we started doing this show. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. The momentum is there, and we really have a good time doing it. And it was just essentially out of conversation that the judge and I had numerous times about, we always get the same questions over and over again, and there's a thirst for knowledge out there, and we're glad to be able to be here and have the show, and it's just a blast.
I know. I can tell you guys have fun, but it's important. I mean, so many of us grew up around guns and with parents who took us to the shooting range, and my dad used to load his own ammunition at night. That was what he did when he came home from work, just to kind of relax, reload. And, that's a tradition that we need to maintain, and we need to pass it on and teach respect for the Second Amendment, respect for firearms. And, that's just fabulous what y'all are doing.
Well, the popular media has made guns, firearms, etc., out as so evil now, and I kind of like some of the speeches late Justice Scalia gave about we need to reverse that trend so it'll become a tradition again, and people won't look at it like it's a gun, like it's a rattlesnake.
Well, I don't think certainly we're lucky in Alabama that we do respect the Second Amendment, and I tell you, I think people around the country are taking notice, guys. I toured the Remington manufacturing plant up in Huntsville not long ago. They used to be in New York for like 200 years, and they moved out because, some states don't respect the Second Amendment. They don't act like they want people to keep and bear arms. And so I'm glad to see people coming to Alabama and respecting the Second Amendment. It's great news for us, for our liberties, and for our economy, too.
Right.
Yeah, we'll take all the gun manufacturers here.
All those ones up in New England, Connecticut, they ought to all leave.
I agree. I'm trying to recruit every one of them that I can run into. I'm asking them to come on down.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Senator, one of the things that we were going to talk about tonight was the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. And I know you were involved with that as well as involved in the Hearing Protection Act. I'm sure you could probably shed a lot of light on what's going on with those conversations with those bills.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about both of them. They're really important pieces of legislation. The first one that you mentioned, Adam, is the Constitutional Concealed Carry Act. It's Senator Cornyn from Texas, who's a great guy, former Attorney General.
Doesn't he have a little bit of John Connolly in him? He just something I look at him and think he's maybe a reincarnation. I know he's too old, but the way he talks and he kind of dresses, the hair.
Yeah, he does.
Let me think about it.
Good. I hadn't thought about that, but I hear more about that issue. Being able to conceal and carry across state lines, and we've got a ton of co-sponsors now, and he's a strong horse to carry that bill, and I'm really excited about working on that one. I heard a lot about it when I was Attorney General. I was fortunate enough to travel with great state troopers when I was, would go out of state in our border states, but the average citizen doesn't have that ability. So being able to carry across state lines is really important. The other one that's really gotten a lot of traction is Mike Crapo from Idaho, the Hearing Protection Act. And I had fun with that on Saturday. You guys will appreciate it.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? I wish they had that when I was a kid. I'd have a lot more of my hearing.
One of those suppressors. Yeah. I'm going to get you one. But I spent the day on Saturday in Birmingham at the range shooting with the suppressor. And, man, is it just a pleasure. It's a joy, and it's something that is commonly used, as y'all know, around the world, and it's something that we ought to be able to do without paying a tax and jumping through extra hoops. So I'm really excited about that bill as well.
I am too. I'm looking forward to purchasing quite a few if it goes if it goes through. Just because of the fact it just makes going to the range more pleasurable, especially when you're wanting to share your love of firearms and you share your love of shooting with your children, and I just think it'd be tremendously better all the way around for lots of different reasons.
It really would, and so. That's a good one. We're working on both of those, and just generally, I'm glad to see the Senate guys, focusing on the Second Amendment. As AG and Rusty, you know all about this, but we did a lot of litigating on the Second Amendment, trying to protect our right to keep and bear arms. But now, and to see us changing the law to ease all these crazy restrictions that we've put on gun ownership and use. It's kind of encouraging to me. With the Republican majority, we ought to be doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I salute you.
Yeah. So that's been fun. So y'all stay tuned. I haven't been in the Senate a long time yet, but I'm glad to be taking a lead on those two bills for sure.
I think the suppressors, because of James Bond and movies, have gotten such a bad reputation, and we all know.
Yeah, Hollywood has turned them into a sinister device.
Yeah,
or something.
That's exactly right.
That only murderers and hitmen use or something like that, and it's ridiculous.
Well, that's funny you say that because we've gotten so politically correct. I saw Clint Eastwood said the other day they probably couldn't make Dirty Harry today, given the environment. Just how politically correct everything is.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I actually read that article, and I thought that was pretty truthful. I think there's some truth in that for sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, Senator, I know you've been busy in Washington, D.C., and, of course, there's been a little bit of turmoil, I think, with maybe on the appointment, and I know that you've been trying to address that. And I was going to see if you want to address some of the naysayers, maybe, if you will.
On his
your appointment. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about the Supreme Court Justice.
That plays into it as well. Yeah,
I was on the wrong wavelength.
No, I do want to get back to what you're saying about the court, because that's really critical. But I appreciate, Adam, you asked me about the appointment from Governor Bentley, and there's a lot of bad information out there, and it's always a good opportunity to get the story straight. But you know, at the bottom line, it's really pretty simple. You know, the public corruption team that I created when I came into office to help drain the swamp in Montgomery started and conducted an investigation into the governor, along with the Ethics Commission, and it ultimately led to his resignation. And I think that was the right result. I'm proud of their work and the record of accomplishment that they had. So I think the right thing happened, and that's good for the state.
Well, everybody likes to make a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, you see it with Trump and the so-called Russian thing, which is just nonsense. The same press that loved the Russians when they were communist, and now they hate them now. It's incredible. And why would the Russians ever advise Trump on an election when they've really never had a free election in Russia? That's laughable.
Well, you're right about that, and I see a similar parallel, the way that the president's being attacked. And I can tell you, you guys know this because you live in the real world, but I don't hear from anyone that is worried about the Russians. I mean, we'll get to the bottom of whatever happened,
I don't
their
either.
interference. But people care about jobs. They care about repealing and replacing Obamacare. They care about taxes. They care about the regulatory burden, like on our Second Amendment, all these other issues we're talking about. That's what I think this election will be about. That's what people care about.
Yeah, I agree with you. Nobody's worried about the Russians involved in the election. And, Boris Yeltsin gave some ad agency here credit for him winning the presidency in Russia, whatever year that was. So,
yeah, I mean, I hope that we'll get back to thinking about things that really matter in people's lives,
Yeah.
That's what I hope to be in Washington to do, and not get into this hysteria. There's a hyperventilating national press and a lot of issues that are being talked about that people just they're not addressing real people's real problems.
It really shows how liberal liberal in the word, how left-wing they are, though.
Oh, no question.
Senator, can you stay with us through the break? Got about a 2-minute break, right?
I'd love to. I got something I want to tell you about.
Yeah, hang on, and we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. Glad you can hang with us through the break. And we still have Senator Strange on the line. And glad you can hang with us. So you got, during the break, Senator, we were discussing politics and elections and everything else like that. Something that we really love here is politics. And I really developed a love for politics as a young man with my family and grandfather. But also, Senator, your campaign for Attorney General was actually the first campaign I ever worked on. And I learned a tremendous amount. And it was a pleasure to serve.
It was such an honor to be Attorney General. It's one of the greatest jobs in the world, like being a judge. You get to deal with victims and law enforcement. But I'm honored to be a senator, too. But as we were talking about in the break, I understand that the people will decide who their senator is going to be. And I'm glad we're having the election in August. August 15th will be the primary. And I urge everybody, and I know your listeners will all be engaged in that process, and we'll learn about the candidates and will exercise their right to vote. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we have a very astute listenership, and I'm amazed each time I meet them and talk with them, and we're just proud that we could be on the air here and be able to talk about the subject that we're talking about. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for the job that you did as AG. And you got a chance to work with NRA is organization that the judge and I are both life members, and we're both certified instructors. But the NRA has the ILA side, and they sue the government or on behalf of an individual that may be kind of being trampled upon. But you had a chance to work with the NRA as the AG. Is that correct?
I did. I had a great working relationship with the NRA. I was a party with the NRA on a number of lawsuits around the country protecting the Second Amendment, and I got to speak at their annual convention in Atlanta about a month ago, and I wanted to. I have not I've not officially announced this yet, guys, but I wanted to let you know on this show tonight. I think we're going to send out an official announcement tomorrow, but I just got a letter today from the NRA announcing that they've endorsed my campaign for the Senate. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that as a life member like you guys.
That's a big boost,
Someone who's been in the foxhole with them, literally, fighting for the Second Amendment. To get their endorsement means more than I could possibly tell you, but I thought it'd be appropriate to mention that on your show, given your championship for those rights.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that. And
made some news tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So you heard it here, the NRA's endorsement of Senator Luther Strange's campaign. So that is a big deal. So I hope that just kind of dispels any hesitancy anyone has that Senator Strange is definitely the champion of the Second Amendment.
Well, I really appreciate it, guys, that you're having me on. What you do, we've been friends for a long time, and what you do and what you teach and what you emphasize is just so critically important. And I'm honored to have the support of the NRA, and I didn't just come by it today. I've been, like you have, a member for a long time. I've been involved in these issues for a long time, and I look forward to being a voice for the Second Amendment in our state, in our country. I mean, I'm honored to be in that position. As long as I'm in the Senate, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, that's great because, and I don't want to get into the broader field of it, but we've got to do something to bring these federal courts back to where they ought to be. And because you see it with Trump, they're so far out of where they're supposed to be operating. It's unbelievable. But I'll send you a separate note on that because I've got a real radical plan.
No, listen. I want to hear it because one of the things I'm most proud of, and you guys I know have been following all this and very much involved with it, but to be able to vote, to invoke the nuclear option and to vote for a new Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch, who will be a conservative champion for the Constitution, that is real progress. That's progress for generations.
Yeah.
We may have more appointments coming up this summer and in the new year, and not just the Supreme Court, but our other courts, Rusty, as you know. That's a
It's the time to be bold now.
Happy about that.
It is really the time to be bold. And we've got the votes. And that's the problem with calling ourselves conservatives. I don't think we can really be conservative when we've had all of these years of, radical change. We've got to roll that radical change back. And by definition, a conservative doesn't do that. But
you're right about that, and I can't let y'all go without complimenting Jeff Sessions too. It's an honor to take his place, but I tell you, the job he's doing as Attorney General in supporting the Constitution and the rule of law, we can't thank him enough for his service as well.
Oh yeah, he's right in the middle of the hurricane, isn't he?
Absolutely. One of the things that we've talked about, Senator, over this last year that we've been on the air is how much crime comes about by illegal immigration and how much crime that illegals commit. It's just amazing, the percentages when you look at the statistic data.
It is, and that's one of the things I like seeing from Senator Sessions or General Sessions now is his support for law enforcement. As Attorney General, I hated to see the way our law enforcement agencies around the country were being treated by the Obama administration.
Oh, gosh.
And there's a whole change in attitude now, respect for people who are putting it on the line every day in our law enforcement agencies across the country. And there's just a new attitude, and it's great. It means a lot for our public safety.
They would squeeze them into these terrible consent decrees, or they would keep them in court for 20 years and all of that. It's just, you're right, terrible. And, Senator, one thing that I would see continuously is with the illegal immigrants is you would develop just a class of people who were just automatically victims because a lot of them would do manual labor. They'd have a lot of cash on them. Then criminals would rob them, and then they wouldn't report it to the police because
right.
And so it's not helping them at all by this hands-off approach that we've had for years.
No, and we've got I'd love to come. I hope to be in studio or something, tell you about some of the issues we're working on in the sanctuary city area. We're working with General Sessions on a bill that's called Enforce the Law or Pay for the Wall.
Oh, great.
Sanctuary cities that will refuse to cooperate with law enforcement or won't allow people to bid on building the wall with Mexico, we take the money away and give it to jurisdictions that will,
right?
So they can build the wall in their communities. So
that's
there's a lot
unimaginable.
going on. It's very refreshing to see the change in attitude.
Well, thank you for your work on that, and definitely. Anytime that you're in our area, we'd love to have you in the studio. And I know you're busy, so we'll
cut the air conditioning on before you come.
I know you're busy, and we'll let you go. But thank you for joining us, Senator. And like I say, feel free to give us a call or drop in anytime.
I will, and I really appreciate your friendship, and thanks for the great work y'all are doing.
Take care.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, hearing from Senator Luther Strange, and when he was Attorney General, we probably worked with him more then, reporting these cities and towns and government officials that had illegally posted areas, public parks, et cetera, that said you couldn't bring guns into them.
Yeah.
And we hadn't had a chance with the new Attorney General, but that's one of the jobs the Attorney General is supposed to do, that if there's a public library, let's say, that a city owns that has no guns, that's illegal for them to have that sign up, and it's up to the Attorney General. You can go on the website for the Attorney General. If you see something like that, report it, and he's supposed to take care of it, and then Attorney General Strange was real good about that.
And one of the things that he said while serving as Attorney General several times is that was his favorite job because he got to look for a reason every day to sue the Obama administration. And
I looked at the one they put on New Orleans, the consent decree. They can't. It's unbelievable what they can and can't do. I can go into it later, but they beat them up pretty bad.
We're rolling up on our second hour here. Be sure and hang with us through the break, and give us a call, 251-343-0106. And we're still broadcasting live on our Facebook page, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. We'll be back after this break with more Armed Alabama. All right, welcome back to the second hour of Armed Alabama. Glad you can join us tonight. We still got a good show for you. We still have plenty to talk about. If you missed the first hour of the show, we had Senator Luther Strange join us by phone and talk to us about the different bills that are in Congress right now regarding the concealed carry reciprocity on a national level, as well as the Hearing Protection Act.
And a big endorsement.
Yes, he also got a big endorsement from the NRA, which is the National Rifle Association, and he announced that on our show for the first time. So it was really good to have him on and talk about everything that he's doing. Judge, you were commenting several things during the break about judicial overreach.
Well, one reason you really see it is everything. Let's start with the temporary ban on visitors from the 6 countries. Congress has given him that authority. If you want to know more about it, you can look at a very old case, depending on your perspective, I guess, the steel seizure cases that occurred during the Korean War. If you look at Justice Jackson's opinion in there, he listed several categories: when the president has power to do things, when he's on shaky ground, and when he doesn't have the power. And when the president has the absolute power is when the Constitution delegates it to him, and or when it delegates it to him, and when the Congress has given him the power. And that's what's happened in the cases involving controlling the borders. And yet the political persuasion of those federal courts with their lifetime appointments, every time he tried to do something, it was blocked. And it was really outrageous. And y'all have probably heard me say this before, that Congress is the one that delegates the jurisdiction of the lower federal courts. The only federal court we have to have is the Supreme Court. The rest of them can be abolished tomorrow.
Yeah, and speaking of the Supreme Court, that is why it was so important that former Governor Robert Bentley made an appointment immediately upon Jeff Sessions being tapped for.
And it's hard to get an appointment from a dermatologist. You give it a try. Takes a long time normally. I'll tell you. Isn't that right, Charlie?
That's right.
But that appointment was necessary to get somebody in that Senate seat who can vote and confirm the new Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch.
But what I was saying, Congress itself can limit the jurisdiction of the what we call the Article III courts, the district and circuit courts, and it has added to their jurisdiction every year. It can say you don't have jurisdiction over these type cases, and what it would do is be repealing the jurisdiction that it's already given them. And it needs to do that because year after year they have taken on more roles that the state courts used to have, and the states were assured when they ratified the Constitution, and this isn't a secret, you can buy the set of books, the debates of the ratifying conventions, and the states were assured, no, the federal courts aren't going to have anything to do with what y'all do within the states. They're there to judge and take care of admiralty cases, violation of federal laws like robbery of a post office, and, well, they've taken on every aspect of our lives now. And that was not the intent of the framers. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask a question on that because there's been some talk. As we all know, the Ninth Circuit is the most liberal, radical,
nutty ninth.
A group in the judiciary, and there's been some talk about maybe breaking up the Ninth District or changing the number of justices. Who has? I mean, does that
Congress?
Congress
could double this size. It could keep the circuit, and let's say there are 50 judges on the circuit. I don't know what there are. It could tomorrow pass an act changing the size to 100, and then the president could appoint 50 additional judges. That's completely within the power of Congress.
Or if they wanted to create a new circuit.
Yeah.
You think we may see some of that happen?
No, because I think Congress probably doesn't have the guts to do that.
There seems to be a lack of willpower.
Yeah, they used to exercise their jurisdiction or their supervisory role over the courts a lot more than they do. They thought that they planned on having impeachment as a way to make sure that you didn't have a lot of judges that get out of line. And pretty soon, after the second impeachment try, Jefferson threw up his hands and said, well, it's toothless. It doesn't give us any power at all.
Aren't there still a lot of vacancies on the federal bench?
Yeah, and there are. And I kind of, my thought is that's fine. Let's abolish them all. Let's whittle it down because it's growing like cancer.
So if we haven't filled them by now, we must not need them.
Probably don't need them. The problem is, and I'm going to look for the quote here in a minute, we've been trying to out-appoint the liberals since 1810, and we never have. It's a hopeless prospect. And everybody that gets appointed, it's just the natural tendency of lawyers to make that left turn, especially now, the way law school is taught, and you just can't – you're never going to be sure that somebody's going to stay the way they have been.
All right, check us out on Facebook. You can join the conversation that's going on right now. We've got a lot of comments under our show heading there on our Facebook page, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. So definitely check us out. Tune in. You can see us on camera. And the judge has got something for show and tell.
Yeah,
Did you want to bring that out now? Or
how much time have we got, Charlie?
You want to wait till after the break?
2 minutes. I got it. Let me tell you, this is the quote from Jefferson. He wrote his friend, former Secretary of the Treasury, this is right after he left office and Madison was president, he wrote Albert Gallatin, and he said, I observe old Cushing is dead, and he has an exclamation point. That was a Federalist who was on the Supreme Court, At length, then, we have a chance of getting a Republican majority on the Supreme Judiciary. For 10 years, that branch has braved the spirit and will of the nation. The event is a fortunate one, so timed as to be a godsend to me. Well, finally, Madison appointed Joseph Story, who was probably the second worst justice ever to be appointed to the Supreme Court. So there you go. Since 1810, they've been trying to get control of the court, and everybody just makes that left turn once they get appointed.
Yeah, should have took that left turn at Albuquerque.
Yes.
It's always like,
Old Cushing is dead, and it had it in caps with an exclamation point.
all right, we're getting ready to go in a break here. If you got a comment or question, you can call us at 251-343-0106, or you can text to that same number. We've been reading some texts as they come in, and we appreciate that. We appreciate everyone texting in. Of course, Jared, as always, has been pretty active texting us in, so appreciate that, Jared. Also, be sure and check out our YouTube channel, Armed Alabama, of course, and check out our website, armedalabama.com. You can go there and you can listen to all of our previous shows. They're there on podcasts. And you can also click on the link to listen to the show live. So if you're outside our listening network, you can go to your TuneIn app, or you can go to our website and you can click on that link there and you can listen live. And also, we broadcast all of our previous shows on YouTube as well, our Facebook Live broadcast. Check us out when we come back for more Armed Alabama. All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. If you get an opportunity, pick up your phone or your iPad or tablet or what have you. Judge has got some show and tell that he's going to do here.
Yeah.
And you can look at us on Facebook.
We'll do that in about 5 minutes.
Armed Alabama.
Chance.
It's Armed Alabama Radio at FM Talk 106.5. I almost forgot our own Facebook page.
Adam, the kind of the historian for the Roman Empire is a guy named Tacitus. And two things he says. First one I don't have to look up. He said, judges are best in the beginning. They deteriorate with the passage of time, which I think is probably true. And the point I wanted to bring out today is he said, the more corrupt the republic, the more laws it has. And that's interesting because one of the things we always complain about is there's just a proliferation of laws that nobody can keep up with. You walk down the street and you're breaking a law, and that's very, very unfair to people. One thing I want to show you, and I'm certain, do they have it today? I don't know, but they sell this or something similar to it, is, and I'll go into that in a minute, but this is a must for traveling. And I'll just take this one as a master, but I know a Brink sells them. There are 2 or 3 companies. They're really the branded important, but it is the engineering that is. What this does is extend. It's a pole within a pole, but it's a brace. And if you're traveling, you need it for your hotel room, number one, because especially with the so-called the magnetic keys, you've seen the people that make you the keys at the door. And I'm not saying any of it's intentional, but, you know, half the time I'll go up there and it doesn't work, and then they give you another one. And
what about the doors between you and the adjoining room? I hate those.
Well, yeah, and depending on which way they swing, this may not help you, but you at least ought to be aware of that, and that's good. You're aware of it. But what you do, depending on how high the doorknob is, if it's a real high one, you extend it out, you know, kind of to the max. And then on the bottom, it's got a rubber foot that brace it. And so what it's doing is it's bracing it. Now, if a 400-pound linebacker hit it 15 times, the door is going to come apart before then. Number one, it's going to wake you up. But if somebody, and I knew someone in New Orleans this happened to, that somebody came in and they woke up and there was somebody in the room stealing. So luckily that they were only doing that. But also for your own home, if you've got a front door that isn't that great, this is a $20 device. Stick one of these there until you've got the money to make it a little harder. Or the back door is a big break-in place too. The same thing for that. Or if you, I don't care if you live alone or not, but let's say you do, and you're a little frightened at night, put it on your bedroom door, because the one thing it's certainly going to do is awaken you if somebody's trying to get in that door. And I generally give this if I've got somebody I know that's graduating from high school. I'll give it to them because they're all getting gift cards from. Well, it used to be whatever the movie place was. I can't think of the name.
AMC.
Yeah, the one that used to sell movies and CDs and all that. At McGregor and Airport Boulevard. What was the? It's gone out of business now.
Blockbuster?
Blockbuster, yeah. Everybody used to give a Blockbuster. But this is something they need and is unique. And, it could save, especially a female's life. So think about something like that. Pretty sure that our friends at Ace Hardware have those. If not, they can get them for you. And like I say, brand doesn't matter. There are 5 or 6 people that make those devices, and they're essentially the same thing.
And what is it called, a door brace?
Yeah, a door brace. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I've got several different brands of them, but it's, the first time you walk into a hotel with one, you feel a little self-conscious. You got to get over that. It's like the first time you open carry a gun. You're a little self-conscious. But listen, they know very well about their doors. I did stay in one in Olive Branch, Mississippi. When I was racing home to get on the show, their door was so hard. I mean, it was solid. I saw the maintenance guy because I locked myself out, and I commented on it. He said, oh, yeah, he's really proud of them. Which, by the way, let me mention something that you ought to get at Ace. Everybody's front door, I guarantee you, but a few people have 1.5-inch screws probably in there. Now, there are these security screws, hinges and all you can buy, but at a minimum, go take those 1.5-inch screws out and get your good 3-inch screws and just put them in the same hole so you'll have them anchored in there.
Yeah, and you can get some, not just the thin wall or the thin neck screws.
The security screws.
They're higher tensile steel that they're made out of.
Yeah, and they're not going to cost you. If you were doing 1,000 doors, they'd cost you a lot more.
Yeah.
You're doing a couple of doors, they're not going to cost you anything more. But take your old screw in with you to Ace, and that's either any of the Ace Hardware, either at Spring Hill, that's at Old Shell in McGregor, or out Moffett Road, or at Creola on Highway 43. Take your old screw in there or your hinge, but, you don't want to take your door off. Take one of the screws so you'll know the size and get you a decent screw that'll go in there, 3 inches. And the security screws are great. When you decide to get a door later on, you can beef it up. But for right now, this is an hour-long project or less, especially if you've got an electric drill, electric screwdriver or something like that. First place people enter is the front door. And generally, if you don't leave it unlocked, which is fairly common, if you lock it, it's a good kick to the door. And you need a good deadbolt on there. Well, you got one side, but if you've got 1.5-inch screws in those hinges, that's the side that's going to come off. So you may have spent, $1,000 for a thick, beautiful door, but if the anchoring is 1.5-inch little brass screws, it's not going to do anything. Ace has got a lot of things for your security there that you depending on your house, locks especially, everything you need. In addition to the deadbolt, you need a deadbolt. You really shouldn't have. Well, it depends. If you've got side lights, you can probably have the deadbolt with the key there, as opposed to the deadbolt. I'm going to get the terms wrong, so I'm not going to use them, but they'll know which kind you need, but you got to measure your door for that, the thickness of your door. But go see them either out in Spring Hill Shopping Center or out on Moffett Road or the Creola Ace Hardware and Lumber. And they're on Highway 43 in the Creola community just after you get off the interstate. I think it's about 1.25 mile on the left as you're going north. Great people, locally owned and operated, which we like to promote. It'll save you a real headache going to one of the big box stores.
I'm sitting here going through my stuff. I'm like, man, I must be like way out of sorts or something.
While you're doing that, I'll give some advice for living. Cicero, who was probably the greatest orator of all time, Roman senator, said, and I won't try the Latin tonight, it is not advisable to move away from your conscience even the width of a fingernail. Now, how about that? We were talking about, people having to look up something in a book of ethics, and I made the point, if you're having to look up something in a book of ethics, I think you're a little too close to the line. Well, he said it even better. It is not advisable to move away from your conscience even the width of a fingernail. Of course, there are plenty of people that don't have consciences. And they're the ones you find in your house at night. Adam, I've got a good article about the most popular, or they claim it's the most effective shotguns, and there are three mentioned. It's the Mossberg 9. I'm trying to get the page. Well, one of them on there was the Benelli M4, and I was a little surprised because that's an expensive gun.
Yeah, but it's a good gun.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's a lot less recoil set up that way than my Benelli M2, but I don't guess, they were – sometimes they do those things without regard to price. So it could be that. But let me find it again. It's on The Truth About Guns, which if you don't ever look at that site, folks, it's called The Truth About Guns. And by and large, it's a pretty good site. All of the gun sites got some kind of deal going. They're getting advertising from gun companies, so you can't regard them as totally reliable. That's why you have to listen to shows. You got to read lots of stuff. But they introduce you to some things you ought to be aware of. And I don't know why this is totally just okay. Here we go. We'll find it this way. Too many truth about guns. Here we go.
So be sure to check us out on our Facebook page, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. And
you guys have been lighting up Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook is just nuts tonight.
An incredible number of followers out there.
Yeah, that sounds like a cult when you say that.
Call your friends and tell them to get on Facebook and take a look.
Yeah, get on Facebook and say hello to Jim Jones while you're there.
Yeah, here we go. It's 3 top shotguns for home defense. Of course, we don't like shotguns for home defense, so that's why I was shocked. It was they have Sega? A new new Sagia, yeah. And the only reason I pronounced it that way is we had a Russian in one of our classes, and that's how he said. So the Sagia, the Benelli M4, and it's the Mossberg. Okay, the 590A1.
I've got a 590A1. Yep. I like it a lot. All right, we'll come back after the break with more Armed Alabama.
And speaking of victory, back on Armed Alabama, and let's take our caller, George from Mobile. How you doing, George?
Hello, George.
Hey, Gordon.
Hey, George, what's up?
No, not George. Gordon.
Yeah.
Gordon.
Okay, well, he's written it down wrong. I'm sorry. Apologize for that.
My problem is, every time I turn around, the laws have changed about firearms, about what you can and can't do, and where you can carry and what you can't carry.
Like I was saying, too many laws.
Pardon?
I was just saying that. Too many laws.
Yeah, is there anywhere I can go to find out where what's right, what's wrong? Is this rusty?
I'll get you. Have you got a computer?
Pardon?
If you got a computer, you can get on.
My wife does.
Okay, let me.
I'm going blind.
You can. You're listening, of course, but you can re-listen to this, or if she's listening, she can write this down and read it to you. This is the place on the computer you go, and it's pretty good about telling you stuff. Place where you what the rules are, laws are, and it's www. And this is all one word, handgunlaw.org. handgunlaw.us.
Handgun law, okay.
.us.
.us?
Yeah, and it'll have a map, and you tap Alabama, and it'll give you pretty good law about Alabama, where you can and can't carry and that kind of thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, tell her to do that for you, and you'll know better. You'll know better than 90% of the people.
Is this Rusty?
It sure is.
Hey, Rusty, you remember me?
I'm trying to pick your voice up because it's real familiar.
You and I worked here over the cash company for one summer.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Well, listen, it's good to hear from old friends.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it sure is. It's,
Anyhow.
That's what I was saying. Well, I hope you're doing all right, as well as can be expected anyway.
Well, I'm stuck in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going blind, and I can't walk. I still think.
I was going to say that's better than a lot of people, because we got a lot of people walking around that can't think.
They only covered.
Right. Wow, sure good to talk to you, Gordon.
Good to talk to you, Russ.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I can't believe that. Sure good to talk to you.
Thank you, Gordon. Appreciate you calling. Appreciate you listening.
Oh, man, I can't believe Gordon's gotten that old on me. Woo.
So what was the name of that website, Judge?
It is www, and we always get it confused, but I got it here, Handgun Law, that's all one word, Handgun Law.
Singular.
Right, .us, and that's instead of .com, it's .us. And you'll be presented with a lot of stuff, but mainly a map, and you click Alabama, or let's say you're going to go to California, you click California, but let's say click Alabama, and it normally throws up another page, and whatever you want to know is at your fingertips there.
Should we be afraid to go to the California page?
Yeah. It is it is in pink on my map, which it should be for pinkos, and I would be very hesitant to go there with a firearm. I think you're taking your own chance.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that actually goes back and forth from Mobile to California for his job, and so he's been reading up on all the different intricacies of California gun law, and it is just unbelievable.
It is.
And we complain about our laws sometimes, but and I hate to say that we're taking it for granted, but it's just amazing what they can't do out there.
It is like the Soviet Union. But I got this down because I was looking at California for I won't go any further, for kind of a position, and the mace pepper spray gun that our friends at McCoy sells, that's legal, but let's say the pepper spray gun that I think is the Kimber, there are a couple of different kinds, it's not. And it's there's such, it's so technical that it's just designed to get people in trouble. And I'll mention that I've mentioned it on other shows before. There are people, children, there are people that are just don't want to carry a firearm. I can understand that, but just don't go around completely unprotected. Get you a Mace brand pepper spray gun. I don't have one to show you.
No, but they sell those at McCoy's.
Yeah, they sell them at McCoy's.
Matter of fact, I plan on getting one pretty quick.
Only place I know that in town that has them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're everything's a polymer type thing. They're guns that are polymer. But best thing to do is to put it in a pocket, but it takes a canister that you can put a water tester in there, and it will fire 15 to 20 feet. So you can try it out with the water to show how to aim it, etc. And then you put the red one in, the pepper spray, and you don't have to conceal it, but, most people are going to do that. And they're perfectly legal, at least most of the places I know, even in Washington, D.C., but, have that. They're also good to have even if you have a firearm because it's called continuum of force. There are times when you don't have the right or you don't want to use deadly force when when a lesser degree of force would be adequate. A drunk's bothering you, you spray him with that, and it works, believe me. But they have them down at McCoy's. Of course, they have every kind of firearm you would want down at McCoy's. And McCoy's is a sponsor of our show. They're good people, and they're on Spring Hill Avenue in the Spring Hill Avenue Shopping Center, and that is just west of I-65 on Spring Hill Avenue, where K&B used to be. Tell them that we sent you. They got millions of other things besides firearms, and they also have, very importantly, a gunsmith down there. So if you've got some problem with your gun, don't shoot it. Take it down there and let their gunsmith fix it. That's the safe thing to do.
Judge, as we talked about in our first hour, we had visited this past Friday, the mayor of Mobile announced the opening of a new Mobile precinct, and that will be opening in Tillman's Corner area.
Is that where he announced that marijuana was going to be legal?
No.
I got a clarification email on that.
I heard several people joking about that.
I didn't even see
event.
the news report.
Yeah.
Apparently screwed something up.
No, I think people kind of took it that way, but that was not the intention of that particular.
And I hope everybody knows he could not do that anyway.
Right.
So.
But the mayor was there to announce the new opening, soon to be opening Mobile precinct in the Tillman's Corner area. Very important, and considering how many citizens showed up there, how many people showed up there in support of this, you can really tell it really struck a chord. The mayor stated that the reason they were going to open it up there is because they didn't have any nowhere near in the area in the south part of Mobile, and this will because the officers have a 1-hour drive time on each shift change, and so this will minimize the interruption at shift changes, including lost patrol time because of transit times. Of course, it'd be better for officers who live and have family in that area, so they could have the opportunity to be stationed there once that precinct opens up. And it's hard to put a price tag on those type of quality of life improvements.
Oh, that's right.
If they have children, they can go to visit the school, they can go to children's functions and that kind of thing. So. Especially have that increased presence, law enforcement's presence in the Tillman's Corner area, because it just seems like every time I go through there, it's vagabonds and riffraff kind of. It's just kind of not as good as what it used to be.
That's a good way to vagabonds, tramps, hobos,
transients, transients.
Gypsies, tramps, and thieves.
There you go. I don't know what the politically correct displaced persons. Probably.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, displaced persons. Yeah. But well-known, lots of them to be. I'll tell you. I mean, I just dealt with a lot of them that were people who should be in mental hospitals, and because we've decided not to care for a lot of people properly, just to put them on the street, But that's kind of the way it goes, I guess. Just have them roaming the streets, and that's just pretty bad. I know there used to be horror stories about people being held, for 50 years in mental hospitals. That's not going to happen now, but there probably is a subset of people that do need to stay there forever, because what happens is they get stabilized on medication and they feel decent. Well, they leave and they really don't have a family to support them, and from what I hear, the stories they've told me, they don't feel especially good taking the medicine. I mean, they feel to us is a lot better because they're not violent and they're not acting strange, but they just don't feel themselves, so they stop taking it. And then they go through that cycle, which is real expensive. They go through the cycle, have to get picked up, committed again, and they're just a subset of those people that just need to stay there.
Judge, if you remember, just a couple weeks ago, we had our concealed carry class, our home defense class that we did at Three Brothers Arms. Had a good time. It was a great group of people, and it just makes it really fun. And we're going to be doing some more classes coming up. If you're interested in one of our classes, be sure to email me, Adam at armedalabama.com, or the judge at armedalabama.com, and we'll get you set up and on our list for our next class that we'll be hopefully doing pretty soon before it starts getting too hot, because that kind of, it's not very fun when it just gets blistering, smoking hot.
Yeah, amen.
So look forward to doing more classes, and we even have some requests to do some more advanced level classes. We're definitely going to be doing that as well. We've already have the program, the syllabus. We've been doing this a long, long time. So we've got lots of potential there for some advanced classes for concealed carry, home defense, and also for shotgun as well. But we'll have more Armed Alabama after this break.
Always better to be the guy with the gun than the guy without the gun.
Or the guy with the knife.
That's right. And might point out lots of, especially men in this part of the country, carry knives. They're real handy to have for all sorts of things. But don't count on it as a self-defense device. I know a fellow that went to a 2-week-long, basically a knife fighting school. And when he got back, besides being a lot lighter in money and in weight and worn out, he says, I don't want to ever have to depend on a knife to defend myself. And because this is something you got to put a lot of time learning and a lot of time in practicing. And, if you want to do that, that's fine. But don't think it comes naturally, because it really doesn't. That's why Samuel the Colt was called, they called him the great equalizer, his firearms, because a 78-year-old lady who's 5 feet tall, she's equal to the biggest, baddest guy that there is out there. So remember that. Now we got about 10 minutes left, so get your calls in if you've got any. I was looking. I have a page called Judge Rusty Johnston, which you can like or dislike, whatever you want. But I was looking at or showing Adam a fight at a school bus stop up in Greene County that a man filmed. And of course, the people are just, I guess there's a neighborhood feud. It's out in the country. And eventually somebody finally pulls out a gun, and you can hear the pop, pop. And of course, I was glad to hear the member of the sheriff's department saying we've arrested 10 and we're going to arrest everybody. But something, back in the old days, I remember that being the center of corruption on absentee ballots and every kind of other election fraud. So, I don't know how serious they are. By the way, they spend about $10,000 a year per kid to educate them there.
Judge, I got a great question
Good.
from the Facebook. They asked, is a machete in a vehicle considered a concealed weapon? I thought that was a good one just to put on air.
Yeah, that is a good question. No, number one, it's not concealed. The problem about having a gun in a car is that the law specifically says that you have to have a permit to carry a pistol, not a gun, a pistol in a car. That's the only thing. You notice you don't have to have a permit to have a shotgun in your car, rifle in your car, even if it's hidden. Now, if you concealed a machete on your body, I'd probably be concerned because the law specifically says it's illegal to carry a Bowie knife concealed. A Bowie knife is, there are 20 different kinds of machetes, the styles, but generally a machete is going to be smaller than a Bowie knife. So, I don't think you could conceal a machete very well.
Was it a Bowie knife that Crocodile Dundee carried?
I think it
and
was.
And he said, now this is a knife?
Yeah, that's a real knife right there.
Yeah, I think it was. But, as I've told you, the fine for that is, drum roll, sound effects, $50. So, so if it were illegal to carry one concealed on your person, I'd carry something a little better than that. But if it were illegal, and I don't know of anything that says it is, you're risking $50 on it.
Yeah, I used to know a guy who had a Jeep, and he always kept a nice sized knife up there and within reach because you go around, you got a soft top Jeep,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a little something extra.
Well, in addition to carrying my Beretta M9 in a hip holster when I was in court, I also had a Louisville Slugger. That's continuum of force. If there's somebody that's not offering, lethal, who's not lethal, who's not attempting to kill anyone, who's just, let's say, drunk and disorderly and can't get under control, and you got of course, a baseball bat can be lethal if you hit somebody over the head with it. Sure can be, just like a billy club.
I was about to ask if you
generally
ran
go for
you just throw the bat at them?
Yeah, no, generally hit them in the calves to try to knock them down, the legs. Okay, any other questions there?
Not yet.
However absurd they might seem. But you got to check out the school bus fight. That is pretty interesting.
Where was that on YouTube?
That is it's on Facebook. You just go to Judge Rusty Johnston, and it is on there. And I strung it along with the news report, but I've got the original film of the Greene County school bus fight first. What is the video, the MK, whatever it is, that odd MKV or something like that odd format? So I had to convert that to a normal format.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many of those out there.
Yeah, that's one of those strange ones. But anyway, it came off pretty well, and it's just it's amazing. And I've also, I don't know if I've uploaded these. Occasionally, I'll put a sovereign citizen one on there. I dealt with those occasionally in court, and generally, I would have sympathy as long as they didn't get nasty. But I had a guy that I tried who had filed a lien against our circuit clerk. And a lien is established by law. You either have a mechanic's lien, like if a guy's worked on your car, he has a lien on your car until you pay for it, or you have a material payment lien. If somebody's built you a house, he's got a lien on your house, or a lawyer has a lien on your case. Well, these people just think they can just file liens against you, and they have no relationship with you. Well, nothing in the law established that. And they are taught to file liens against people they are having problems with, especially public officials. And he filed a several $1 million lien against the circuit clerk. And it got to be such a problem that Alabama made that, like a lot of states, a felony to do that. Well, he refused to drop it, etc. He was indicted. The DA offered him straight probation. Now, keep in mind, he had 2 or 3 prior felonies, and he was representing himself. So I told him before the case started, I said, you really ought to reconsider that. You got 2 or 3 prior felonies, and the maximum sentence for this is life. Oh, he was indignant. She needs to pay me what she owes me and all this. So jury was out maybe 30 minutes and convicted him, and he's serving a 20 or 25-year sentence right now. So that was really bizarre.
That brings me to another question. During your years on the bench, did you have a lot of people defend themselves? We hear about the court-appointed attorneys
very
and all
few,
that.
because usually after I got through talking to them, in theory they're not free, but yeah, they are. And the Alabama Supreme Court extended that to even traffic offenses. And once you tell them that, you could go to jail for this in theory, and I say, do you know what this means, terms? And when they finally get through with that, they don't know that. And I said, listen, it's fine if you want to go to court over what most people say is a technicality. That's fine. But I wouldn't go into an operating room and try to take out even a splinter, because I don't know what I'm doing. And so most of the time they would accept a lawyer. So that was good. Well, we're nearing the end of the show, and I do want to thank all of our sponsors. I want to thank McCoy's. I want to thank Parnell out at Don
Palmer's Toyota.
It's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank our Ace Hardware stores in Creola and Spring Hill and Moffett Road. I want to thank Grayson Air Conditioning. Get that air conditioning going. It's getting hot right now, so better get it going. I want to thank Dr. Foster. Get your back fixed up, neck, whatever you got that needs fixing. And who have I left out, Chase?
In Tillman's Corner.
Well, I know we got
he's in
Tillman's
Tillman's Corner, Dr. Foster. And who have I left out? Matt Green is, and by the way, Matt is a sponsor, but he doesn't advertise. But no representation would be made. It's the quality of his legal services is better than the quality of other lawyers' legal services.
But it's pretty good.
We always have Patreon as well, and all our guests will be getting an email quickly for
check your email tomorrow or so. We'll see you next week on the Armed Alabama Show and get you some questions lined up. We'll try to stump me on some legal or some constitutional questions because, believe me, we need to get back to what the founders thought. We've gone astray. See you next week.